Horween CXL. You're probably familiar with it on something like the Alden Indy boots, or maybe you've seen it on a Grant Stone diesel boot. But today I have not only CXL Classic, but also some special variations on CXL, including one brand new variant that is yet to be released. CXL has become a very popular leather for footwear, in particular on boots. It's a really hard-wearing, rugged leather that has a nice sheen to it. And in addition to that, it also has a really beautiful depth of color because of all the waxes and oils that have been hot stuffed into this leather. For me, when I wear CXL on my footwear, I just find that it's the most comfortable leather to wear around my feet. So those two boots were CXL Classic. We've got the brown CXL on the Indy boot, and on that diesel boot, it was natural CXL. Grant Stone calls that color Dune. I've got a Lucky wallet here in CXL Classic. However, this particular piece has some really extreme linear striations on it. We call this the epic grain character. And this texture is something that the tannery cannot control. So when we see leather that looks like this, we like to cut them into special releases, just like the 13th anniversary drop. Now let's take a look at this Fat Herbie. On the inside, I have another piece of the epic natural CXL, the CXL Classic. But on the back side of this Herbie, we've got a variation of CXL. And this variation is called wax flesh. Typically, the flesh side of the leather is a little bit more fibrous and open. Think of something like a suede. The tannery has a method to finish that in with a heavy resin coat and sort of iron it smooth. So you get this grain-like appearance, but it's a little bit more fibrous. And the cool thing about wax flesh is just how interesting it wears in. When you start to scuff and scratch this leather, it will transform the look and you get more of a depth of color as well as texture, because the scratched up areas are a little bit more rough like a suede, and those are nicely contrasted by the smoothed down resin finish just next to it. So on this particular Fat Herbie, we've done a little bit of hand distressing to the outside. This is a method that we're starting to call a relic finish. So we've been relicking some wax flesh. This is one of the first prototypes that we've done with the relic finish. This one has also been hand boarded, so you get a little bit of extra texture. Now I'm really excited to show you this one. It's a subtle variation on CXL that has not been released. My business partner, Dan, works at Horween Leather Company, just next door to us, and he's been running some experiments on different leathers that they have, including the CXL. So what he has done here is he's taken the classic CXL on horsehide, and he looked at just the crust of the leather, which means no finish had been applied, and he started to experiment with that. On horsehide, we often see the grain character is much more pronounced. It's got much more character to it than on a bovine leather. This product hasn't been announced by Horween or even released, so it doesn't have a name yet, so I'm just calling it polished horsehide CXL, and it's just a really extreme grain character version of the horsehide leather. A couple people in the shop here thought this looked like the reverse side of shell cordovan, to give you a sense of what it looks like. It's very, very dense, super grainy, and has a ton of character. And then because of that polishing, we get a little bit of an extra bright luster. Now this Fat Herbie, I thought would be really cool to combine that brand new polished full grain horsehide CXL on the bottom here. And I cut in a little bit of extra texture that I think looks cool. We put that on top of some of the waxed flesh CXL horse. So you get a good combination of the two textures together. And on this Fat Herbie, I thought it'd be fun to do one more extra thing to combine those two textures together. I added some hidden card slots underneath each side. Let me show you a couple more pieces in the new polished full grain horsehide CXL. Tons of words. We probably need a new leather name to describe this one. This is our Bugs Moran wallet in that same polished CXL. You can really see the extreme character on the horsehide, and that polishing really brings it out. I also wanted to include a couple lower price point things. We've got the one-shot card case here, also in the polished natural CXL. I've got one more wallet in the polished horsehide. This is that natural color. Again, they could apply different stain colors to this, but this is what the leather looks like without any stains applied. The color you're seeing is really from the skin itself, the tree barks that are tanned into it, as well as some of the waxes and oils that are tanned inside. And then the inside of this one, we've combined it with some brown cypress leather. I'm really excited for this. So let's look at some waxed flesh CXL. This is also made on horsehide, although you probably see more frequently steer hide versions of the wax flesh. This is, again, another Johnny the Fox. We've got natural wax flesh on the outside. Do yourself a favor and Google search wax flesh patina. and boots, and you'll come across some amazing looking boots that have been worn in. And that combination of textures that you see on these boots, I think is amazing. You'll start to see that same effect on the wallet here if you start to distress it and scuff it up. I was really inspired by a lot of the boots that I see in the wax flesh, so I thought it'd be great to bring it over to our wallets. So I'm really excited to see what people do with a wallet like this. We also made a Bugs Moran card holder in that same natural wax flesh inside and out. You can see the grain side down the center. That's just the back side of the wax flesh. And we have our second most popular wallet here. This is the Capone money clip, also in the wax flesh. I thought it'd be good to contrast it again, just like on the Herbie earlier, where you can see the wax flesh sitting on top of the full grain piece of the Horsehide. Again, on Horsehide, you get extra character, so extreme character on the natural Horsehide grain side. And then on the interior of this wallet, it's all completely flush. So we've got wax flesh going all the way through both card slots and through the center. Now let's get on to one more version of Chrome XL. This is one of my favorites. It's got a nice little story to it. But what this is pit tanned Chrome XL. And Chrome XL had been used in a lot of industrial capacities in the past, not so much anymore these days. You would find this in things like motor seals, and they would actually use this exact leather on tanks. For example, in World War II, a lot of seals were made with leather. These days, they're a little bit more like a synthetic. Now, this one is special for a couple more reasons. Pit tanned natural Chrome XL M's is what the tannery will call this. However, this specific wallet was made on a variation, a different hide type. This was made in a calf skin. So the grain texture is a little bit different, but it's very extreme. Most of those M's Chrome XL being pit tanned, they tend to draw up a little bit. You get a little bit more of that epic grain texture. Before we get into some of the shell cordovan pieces, let me show you one more horsehide piece in another brand new leather from Horween. This is a leather called Aspen. And for this Herbie, what we did on the outside was cut the horse mane down the spine. And the manes of the horses have an even more extreme amount of character. Often the color changes a little bit as well. So you can really see down the center spine of this wallet, all that extreme character. And then towards the edges of the wallet, that texture starts to drop off a little bit. Horween's Aspen leather is the latest and greatest. They released this one last year. We made a couple wallets out of it that people really liked. This color is called Acorn. It's like a vibrant orangey tan, a little bit more vibrant than the English tan color of Dublin we've been doing in the past. The bright shiny luster and extreme grain character of the horse are the two things that signify this new Aspen leather to me. It's also veg tanned completely, so no chrome salts used in this one. On the inside, we've got more of the Acorn Aspen, but this one has 2 hidden card slots as well. Now let's hop over to some shell cordovan. I'm gonna start off with this guy, because I think this one is my stunner of the day. Vertical Bugs Moran, color 4 shell cordovan. It's a really nice medium brown shade with red undertones. This specific shell is remarkable. I love the luster on this one. It's got a great depth of color. And we also have a cream color hand stitching along the outside. Now let's hop over to the crazy stuff. This is psychedelic shell cordovan. I'm calling this psychedelic magenta and green. You can see how those two colors are starting to lay over each other in randomized patterns on this piece, especially on the back side. I really love how that's turned out with the sort of blank canvas underneath of that brown veg tan color. And I've got one more psychedelic shell cordovan piece to show you. This, I'm just calling it orange psychedelic. It doesn't really have a specific name, but you can see on the exterior left, there's a little bit of green color as well, just peeking out on this far side. We've also done a little bit of hand glazing to this piece of shell cordovan, so it's got a little bit more of a bright shine when you compare it to a standard piece of reverse cordovan. On the inside of the Shiny the Fox, we've got some black shell cordovan, and this one is also hand stained on the edge with a black stain, as well as black hand stitching. Here's another great piece, marbled shell cordovan this time. I believe this is marbled black shell cordovan, although in truth, sometimes the marbled black kind of looks like a marbled green. Sometimes it looks a little bit like a marbled blue. The reason that it's confusing is because this doesn't look black at all. The tannery uses black dyes that they stain on top of the shell, and then they slowly scrape them away to reveal a random range of colors underneath. The black dyes have a little bit of a tint of green to it, so when you scrape it away, it appears a little bit more green. This one as well, we also have a black hand-stained edge, but on the inside, we've got some full grain latigo from Horween. Here's another crazy piece. I don't actually think I've seen this before, but we're calling this Epic Splatter Black Shell Cordovan. You can see the random dye marks on the outside and on the inside of this capone are really intense, and we've also hand glazed them in, so it's got a little bit more of a bright shine to it. In addition to all that, we've got a gold color spring bar money clip, as well as some black stitching that has been hand stitched along the outside. Another piece of Epic Splatter reverse black shell cordovan for this guy. If you're not familiar with the Lucky Wallet, it's only stitched on two sides. So we have one large open side where you can drop in cash or more cards into the center of the wallet. Here's another lucky card holder. This one is raw denim shell cordovan alternating with Epic Splatter blue shell cordovan in the center. On the back, we don't have any card slots in this one, so if you're more of a minimalist, this might be the one for you. And then two new to us shell cordovan colors. We've got Armagnac and Mocha shell cordovan. The Armagnac is like a dark whiskey color, a little bit more brown and less yellow than whiskey. This is our Lucky Wallet that's kind of similar to the card holder, but the Lucky Wallet has the flap that goes over the top. You'll notice right now it doesn't want to hold its shape, but because the shell cordovan is veg tan, as you use this, that flap will mold into place. And here's another Lucky Wallet. This time it is in Mocha shell cordovan. It's kind of like a darker color 4. It's like a brown, but it's got a little hint of orange in the undertones, a little bit of reddish orange underneath. Very nice shades. It's kind of like a lighter cigar as well, if you're familiar with that color, but more color to it, where the cigar is just straightforward brown. And the last Lucky Wallet is my favorite. This is raw natural shell cordovan. If you're looking for patina, the raw natural shell cordovan will give you the most room to develop an incredible patina. So what you will see is the luster and color start to change very slowly over time. It will become a little bit more yellow and golden brown in color, but the luster becomes more and more glassy just with normal use in your pocket. One more piece. This is our vault key holder. I wanted to include some lower cost things in the 13th anniversary drop that people could have this little anniversary piece with us. Each of these have been stamped with a special 13th anniversary stamp. And this one is made in Western textured natural latigo. So Chrome XL leather has been tanned here in Chicago for 100 years now. I think there's a reason that it's had the staying power for these 100 years. It's just very comfortable, really beautiful. And as they go along, we're starting to see more and more variations, which I think is really exciting. So I'm excited to see what more Horween can do with the Chrome XL leather. Something I want to mention too, if you're a leather crafter, you might be interested to know that there's more vibrant shades of Chrome XL and a tannage called Cavalier Chrome XL, which has a little bit of a different wax blend in that stuffing mix. The Chrome XL Classic is so rich, full of waxes and oils that you can kind of only do earth tones on them. So that Cavalier version will give you more opportunity for bright shades. If you want to check out some of these 13th anniversary pieces, you can find them on my website, ashlandleather.com. Check out the limited release tab. Until next time, hope you guys have a good one and take care.